enthusiastic to be talking to you. I think some of the questions are just falling in our dialogue. How was it for you to live and to grow up in the streets of South Africa? How would you conclude that
I think it was
experience?
fun. Yeah, for me, I feel like it was fun. My childhood was sure like I'm saying, for me, I was the child who really. I've always been very naive, I must say. I've always believed in people, believed the best in everyone and whatever. So in the midst of, elections, because I was born in 1994, so post elections and all of that, I was just like, okay, we are free. Okay, we can play together. I can go to a multiracial school. So, and even when somebody says a weird comment about me, like, yeah, sure, have you heard about it? But for me, I would be the one of the first questions I would always ask is that, hmm, but why would you say such a thing? I felt like I
Yeah,
thought we're all on the same boat. We're all good people. We all want good things for everyone. So
yeah,
I grew up with that. Um, being so naive. And I think that helped me and shielded me a lot from stressing about the negative part of South Africa and the realities that come with it. But I felt that I enjoyed it. I had fun. I really was a kid. I played because I'm from Kasi, it's on Mawoban. So
yes.
I played all these really nice games, the teeny, scope the ball, what do you call it? House, yeah, all of this
Khati,
thing.
is it Khati?
Yeah, Gusha, everything. So
Yeah,
I, I feel that in the midst of everything that happened or that was happening maybe around to other people, for me, I managed to enjoy growing up as a South African child. And though there were issues, my parents did their best, honestly, to protect me from all those things that happened. So I was also privileged enough not to have gone through some of these things that other young women sometimes go through. So yeah, for me, I consider myself blessed in that area that I didn't have to go through. Yes, I went through my own self-esteem issues, all of that, but it wasn't as hectic and traumatic. So that also helped ease that journey for me to really enjoy it and enjoy it to the fullest. So I'm proud to be a South African child, and I'm proud that I grew up here. So yeah, no, uh, yeah, I enjoyed it.
and I'm so fascinated on how you express it because you make me feel like we're still living in those days where you don't have a problem with many things. Life is not
Yeah,
stressful. And I do want to
mm,
say this. I feel like life becomes hard, and it becomes hard like in steps when you start to have an intense focus on things. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
growing up in the streets, exactly how you express it, we didn't have
mm,
problems. We didn't stress about a lot of things. Like you
no,
saying, if someone say a nasty thing to you, you're just
mm,
like, I thought we are here to be hurt as kids.
yeah,
Like, what's
yeah,
going on now? You
yeah,
don't take it serious. But now that we have more focus, we have more things to focus on. We are more
mm,
intense on things. Life is
mm,
really becoming questionable and difficult.
yeah,
Yeah, so I'm so fascinated on how you express
mm,
that,
yeah,
and
no,
your
yeah,
your
it was
your
great.
childhood, your
Mm,
your childhood is fascinating again. On this, you started
mm.
writing when you were 3 years old. Is that right?
Not
Right?
grade three,
Or
grade
when you're
three,
doing grade,
grade three. Yeah.
yeah, when you're doing grade three. Oh, I'm so insane. I mean, how can you really do that? But I think, okay, when you're doing grade three.
Yeah, yes, three. Wow, did I even know how to write properly?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's something that is happening now. Last, I think it was 7 years back when we discovered Junior, the DJ, the boy who started DJing
Yeah,
at the age of 3.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. These things are happening. I think that's why I'm
yeah,
saying it without a shadow of a doubt. So you
yeah.
started writing at the age of you started to write when you were doing grade 3. That's amazing. And when I was reading that part in this book of yours, when I was reading that part, I I I quickly had a correlation story, and that story was of Celine Dion, because when you get the assurance and the confidence from the people around that you can actually write. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone here, this is what Aobakwe has written. That's how it went even with Celine Dion. She started having confidence that she can sing when she was singing in a marriage. I think it was a marriage of her brother or something like that. So
Sure.
even with you, the confidence of writing, you started gaining it when you were given a chance, and
Yeah.
it was a blessing in disguise. It was in a funeral, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Tell
It
me
was.
about
It was.
that experience.
Sure. Yeah. So obviously, I was one of those because I was young. I couldn't be cooking with my aunts and my
Yeah.
uncles and all of that. So I was forced to be in a room. So for some reason, I just wanted a pen and paper. Also because I was very shy, and that self-esteem issue thing was still it wasn't in its very heightened stage, but it was still there. So because I was so shy, I didn't necessarily want to speak in front of people. I wanted to rather let me write something. So really, I wrote something just to encourage us as a family because it was a family funeral. And I showed it to my mom after I was done. I showed it to my mom and she was like, "Hey, you're going to read this out tomorrow." And that was the rest is history. That was the beginning of my writing journey and experience. And it's funny now because um I've actually had to also write a speech on my mom's funeral. So it was just it's very it's quite a touching thing now to realize it that during that time she was the one who said read it out loud, and even on her funeral a couple of months ago I had to write something because I felt like she was the one who actually propelled me into my writing space. She was the one who helped me give birth to my writing. So yeah, so that was really the journey of that part of my writing, and I'll forever ever be grateful and thankful. And even before her funeral, I didn't understand her impact that she had on me just by giving me that opportunity up until her funeral, where I was like, wait, actually it was her, because I once had a dream where she was helping me give birth, but I just thought about it like as a like maybe something like that will happen in the future or whatever. But actually, it was just a revelation that your mom was the one who actually gave birth, helped you give birth. She was your midwife to give birth to your gifts and talents. And most importantly, now it's becoming your purpose. So yeah, I'm
Hmm,
really blessed that
hmm,
mom
hmm,
was
hmm.
that midwife for me.
Wait, now I want to come to a point where you said you had a dream. In the dream, how was it? Was it what? She was a midwife on like dreams
For
or
me,
literally?
in
I
my
I get
dream,
it. Yes,
in
in your
my
dream.
dream, yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm sleeping, actually, in my dream, and I'm giving birth to a child.
Like
And
literal child.
yes, but she's the one who's
Oh
the
yeah.
midwife. So I thought about it that maybe it's much more like it's more of a literal meaning, only to find that it wasn't a literal one. It was she was helping you give birth to your purpose, to give birth to who you
Ah
are.
man.
Yeah, yeah. So that was
Yeah.
beautiful. That was beautiful.
May her soul rest in peace. I wanted us to talk about that a little bit
Mm,
later on when we're closing, because
yeah,
I I I I I think I understand it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy
yeah.
thing. We
Mm,
have already exhausted 55 minutes. We haven't touched on the subject on the subject of that we're supposed to touch on. And let's now come to when you realize
mm,
that you actually have a gift of
mm,
writing.
mm,
And our let's bring our first subject,
mm,
locus of control. Now
mm,
that you realize that, I can actually write. My
mm,
mother has actually endorsed
mm.
this writing skill.
Yeah.
in you, internally in you, how do you feel? Were you feeling like I have power to be an amazing writer,
mm.
or where you were like, okay, everything will just show up when I grow up? Did you know, like, at a very young age?
No, at a very young age, no. I wasn't thinking that far, but also because writing was not a celebrated career path to follow or something along those lines. So I thought about it more as a hobby, not as something that at some point I will use to change people's lives. So that's where it really started, that I found writing to uh well, my mom, I feel like she endorsed it. She gave me the confidence to continue writing, but I just didn't know how far it will take me. I didn't know what doors it will open. I didn't know that I will actually become what I am right now. I just knew that, okay, I must continue. I mustn't stop. So that's what she did at that point. And only, I think, when I was in matric, when somebody, grade 11 or matric, when I wrote something and somebody from outside the country endorsed my writing. And that's when I was like, wait, actually, now I feel like this thing can
Yeah.
go bigger than I can ever imagine. And this can be something solid in my life if I take it seriously and if I nurture it to really become that which I am envisioning now. But before nah. But also exposure. Exposure is a big thing as well. During that matric and grade 11, I was already exposed to a couple of writers. So I could see that, oh, this person is writing. And oh, they did this, they did that, or they achieved this. So because of the exposure as well, it gave me more confidence to say, no, but this gift is enough for me to actually go all the way with it, not just take it as a hobby or not just write for myself. There's more to it that I can do if I give myself the time to find what it is and to just explore it a bit more. Because a lot of times we have gifts and talents, but we don't give ourselves the time to explore it because there are so many opportunities once you start looking. You also have, this quote where they say, once you start looking, you will find what you're looking for. So even career wise and talent and gift wise, we should also put that into practice, that once you start searching, once you start exploring, you will actually start seeing more things and more opportunities around whatever that you're gifted in. So yeah, that's that journey.
And now I want to question your understanding on the
Yeah.
subject of locus of control. How would
Mm.
you explain this to someone?
Locus of control.
Yes.
Sure. Okay, now what is locus? Let's start there.
All right.
If you
Let
can
me
quickly, yeah, explain
let
that
let
to me.
let let me say this. This is one of the subjects, like the subjects that we won't be discussing in detail, but
Mm,
locus, like the thing, locus of control is whereby we now look at individual and look how do they perceive things that are happening in their life.
mm,
Yeah, but if there are people, is actually a psychology concept, or maybe terminology, that says there's a philosophy, or there's a belief that people have actually two things. They have internal locus of control and they have external locus of control. The
mm,
ones who have who have internal locus of control, these ones, they believe that every task that they have been assigned, is the power to complete that, it's upon themselves.
mm,
They have what it takes to complete
mm,
whatever that whatever that they are given, or maybe they have a power to be in a situation to defeat the situation that they found themselves in. And there's these category of people who have external locus of control, and this one says now, uh, we are just, I mean, parties of the world. The world is happening upon us. The things are happening upon us, and we don't have a control on them. How things go, that's the fate. That's the destination. That's how they were supposed to go. We don't have power on those things. Do you understand? We don't have power on those things. So it's something like a subheading which has two categories in it: locus of control, those who have internal locus of control. How society define them, they say these are people with self-assurance, and these other ones, these are people who say, yeah, we are living, so bona ukuthi kuzokwenzekani. Things are in the hand of someone.
Someone else.
Yes, when things go wrong, this is their response. This is their response. Those who have external locus of control, when things go wrong, they say now it's because of that. It's because of how that table is situated. It's because of how that plane landed. It's because of where the sea was actually. Yabo. And those who have internal locus of control, they say now it's my fault. I should have done it this way. I should have. There's no luck. It's hard work. You understand? I hope you understand now.
Yes, I do. I personally, with on that front, I feel like it's a bit of both. For me, in terms of my belief of locus of control, I believe there's a certain level you yourself have to go or have to reach, and only after that, then there's also the higher being of God, who takes over, and some situations you honestly have no control over, but there's a certain level of control you have about your responses, your decisions, and your words, your thoughts. For me, there's a let's say 80% of what you need to put in, 70-80% of what you need to put in, what you need to do, that it's on you, and then the 30-20%, it's more of, okay, these are things that really I have no control over, but knowing very well that I did my part, that I did my best in the circumstance or in the situation that presented itself. So yeah, for me, it has a lot to do with yourself and doing what you can. And if you've exhausted all your options, then you can say, I've done it. I've done it. Lord, I leave it all up to you now to do that miracle that I truly cannot do myself. It's only up to you. So yeah, but also the control thing, it also has a bit of its own challenges, because especially if you are a person who is like me, like that, who wants to get things done, who wants things in a certain way. So because of those things, you always want to do it. You always want to take initiative and do whatever that you need to do. Now, that also is a bit of a challenge when you now start wanting to control everything, and it frustrates you because there are certain things that are really outside of your control. Like you can't do anything. So that's a bit of a challenge when it comes to a person like me, that when there's really nothing else that you can do, sitting still and doing nothing is quite foreign. Like you're just like, okay, is there something that I could have still done? Is there something more? Like that thought keeps bothering you so much up until probably you see a miracle and you're just like, okay, that wasn't me at all. But you want to have that some sense of control to a certain level. But the surrendering, it's not always easy.
Yeah, I'm asking this question because you are one person that is confusing in this part, in this subject that we are talking about.
Yeah.
Someone who's looking at you, you are really confusing when it comes to this one. By the way, I think I didn't learn where to weight like this subject of locus of control. So
mm,
I only viewed a definition of it. So they say it's a particular position, and then the
oh,
control, if you're in a particular position, and then you decide the control, whether you want it to be internally or externally. Do you get it?
okay. Mm,
So locus
hmm,
locus refers to a particular position. So I'm
oh,
saying to you, you are confusing. You're actually confusing when we look when we make this subject an umbrella of your life, because
mm,
when we are at the point of worship,
mm,
talking to God,
mm,
asking things,
mm,
defining things, interpreting things, your nature is always to ask from God. Like you usually say to me, um, check, man, ask what God is saying around what
yeah,
God is
yeah,
saying about it. But
mm,
on the other
mm,
hand, when you read your book, you are like, there are some things that I couldn't pretend to understand. I
mm,
prefer to be alone. And
mm,
I mean, I was like, so if now you are alone,
mm,
being alone is such a terrible moment sometimes, because all of the questions that you get to have, they bombard into self. You
mm,
start having
mm,
questions and you start going crazy about it. And on the
mm,
other side, on the other side, when you are around people, you are able to ask. So to me, it was confusing to see you that you are a loner and you are an introvert in the public,
mm,
but extroverted towards your dreams. How
mm,
how do you then decide, or maybe how do you view that,
mm,
this one is not within my capabilities, is not within my powers? How do you get to those lenses that you see now? That because we try so hard, I mean, we try so hard and a lot of things to change, and for sometimes for some time we dwell so much in the things that we cannot change, not
mm,
because we want to force, or maybe we are becoming forcey, but
mm,
we don't know whether we can change them or we cannot change them.
mm. Sure. Uh, like I said in the previous question, for me, I I do as much as I know I can do, and when really I have nothing, like I've run out of options. But obviously, like you said, with me, my thing, especially when it comes to big decisions, big moves that I need to make, and also because of my relationship with the Lord, it's always okay. Ask the Lord first. Is this the right move? Must I do this? Do I have the blessing of the Lord that will go with me into this thing? And then obviously after I have that answer, if it's a yes, like I'm saying, I'm gonna do everything that I know I can in my power to do what I need to do. And when I've done it all, then I'll know that, okay, I've done it all, and you said you've given me the go ahead to do this, which means there has to be something here. There has to be either a breakthrough or a lesson. So it's always one of the two for me. It's always there needs to be a breakthrough in this because you said I can do it, I must do it. Then that thing of now I need to surrender to say this one I have no control over. I've done what I can. I'm leaving it now to God to do what He wants to do or that He feels He needs to do for this thing to be realized. But sometimes, even when you've given control, sometimes the not the things nothing happens, or you don't get the outcome that you want, or you get maybe disappointed or whatever. I feel like there is a lesson to it too. So it's always one of the two, that it's either a lesson or a breakthrough. But like I said, the process for me is always ask the Lord about it. If I need to go, I'll go do whatever I need to do to get it done, and then you leave the rest up to God. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's always my process. Always, it's always the same. Sometimes, obviously, I get it wrong. I didn't hear properly, but it still goes back to I will definitely get a lesson in that situation that didn't go the way I wanted to, or that I didn't hear properly about.
Of course, this subject is a long subject, and I feel like we started it late. But I'm gonna ask one of the sensitive and important questions around it, so that we pass to discipline very quickly.
Okay.
Now, it when we're making this channel, we said it's Asvaye Sea Explorer more. I mean, when we're doing it, we wanted to attend crises that happen in township more than that happen everywhere. So when you look at the situation that we see in township eKasi, like abantu abaninzi, they are living in poverty, and some have succumbed or maybe surrendered themselves to that situation. Ukuthi, this is God's will. What's your take on it? Can God put you in the state of poverty for a lifetime, or it's up to us? Because, like I said, locus is a position. So now, if you're positioned in poverty, what control one should have there? Is it an internal control, or you should actually blame the government? It's government. It's this and this. It's these leaders, or you have what it takes to get out of poverty. And I'm saying this because how we define poverty in South Africa based on the educational system, they made us to believe that poverty is when you can't afford a meal or you can't buy clothes. Kanti poverty, it permeates through different aspects of life.
Yeah.
If you are not emotionally stable, you might be living in emotional poverty. You understand? So I want us to come to a situation where someone in township is living in the state of poverty. Do they have power to change that?
Yes, they do, but it will take so much work, so much also internal work. The locus of control here now is honestly based on the inside as compared to your surroundings, because obviously your surroundings is telling you otherwise. It's telling you the opposite of what you're hoping for, and you need to go within. There's no other way to get. For me, I feel there's no other way to get out of it. You need to go within. You need to find something in there. Sometimes it's as little as a dream that you remember that you had when you were a little child, that it was possible, that you just hold on to that, up until you see some light. Sometimes it's just a word that somebody spoke to you that encouraged you and motivated you that this thing is possible. So it's about really going within, but also remembering those words or remembering the things, not just words. Sometimes it's also situations that motivated and helped you to take one more step. Sometimes you don't need the whole staircase, just one more step, just the courage to take one more step. So for me, it's internal. There's no other way you can get out of it externally. Sometimes, yes, external you can, but again, it's that outside of your control situation where one angel somewhere through a human being would either help you or encourage you or open a door in one way or another. But most of the time, it will have to come from within, and it's not an easy thing to do, because sometimes you don't even know what you're looking for. You don't know. Yeah, you just don't know, but you just know that you need to find something within to hold on to. That's my thing. Something to hold on to within that can help you carry on, can help you continue to eventually see yourself outside of what you feel. But also, you're within. There's also this saying that says you're within, like internally, the voice needs to be so strong, or that situation needs to be so strong that it's stronger than your circumstances. It's stronger than your conviction about it, your dream about it. It needs to be bigger than how you're feeling. It needs to be bigger than what you're experiencing externally to be able to get out. Because once that is still lagging behind, or it's still less than your circumstances, you will definitely stay there. But if there's something that motivates you to say, nah, I've never seen a writer in my family, but I'm imagining somebody write a book, and I, that thing is so strong within you that you make a way. You honestly make a way. There's no other way for me I can explain it, but to just say you need to find something to hold on to to help you get to where you want to be internally somehow. It's not a thing that airy fairy or a academic term or something complicated. Like I'm saying, it's just as small as looking into your family and saying, I want to be the first one. And that just pushes you to get there. Or you saying, I can do better, I can be better, or however way, or you remembering somebody telling you at some point in your life that you will be great, and you holding on to that and believing it, not just hearing it, but also believing it and also working towards what you believe and what you saw or what you heard.
Mm. And here is the thing. People
Mm.
who will have internal locus of control, they are how can I say it? They are misunderstood. They
I can
are
relate to that.
condemned.
Yeah,
They
no,
are
I can relate to that.
they are challenged. I want to come to this thing because you also had to face it on your book.
Mm-hmm.
Where you mentioned that on your book, where you saw a need to start over again.
Mm-hmm.
There's something. I wonder, how did you get into this artistry? When you say, when you extracted an analogy from the Bible and you said, hey, you are so amazing, and you extracted an analogy from the book and you said, Moses saw the was it a bush burning?
Yeah,
It was okay, it was on fire but it was not burning.
yeah. It wasn't burning what's around, but it.
and
Yeah, no.
and and you came to a point where you say, now the degree was on fire. The degree was on fire but it was not actually burning. um
Mm.
uh, and you saw a need to start over again. People who have
Mm.
internal locus of control, they they are misunderstood when they want to do that. They are
Mm.
they are attacked when they want to do that, because the title "Start Over Again" can be applicable in many things. Start over again to be a writer. I don't know,
Mm.
do you understand? Start over
Mm.
again to be a graduate, the very first
Mm.
graduate at home. Start over again to be a presenter. We've never
Mm.
had a presenter at home. So,
Mm.
or to end up at the pinnacle of
Mm.
at the pinnacle of a new thing where you have started over. You get there with scars of people that you love, because and not that they don't want you to get there, but because they
Mm.
love you, they protect you. They say you can't
Mm.
quit the school, you can't start
Mm.
over again at school. We need, I mean, the degree.
Yeah.
We need you to pursue these. So many
Mm.
people have started over again and they gave up along the journey because of the attacks that they had. So
Mm.
take us through the process where where you are now having, when you are decisive that, you know what, this university thing at this moment is really like is really pouring stones.
Yeah.
It's really stoning me, and now I want
Mm.
to start over again. How was the process? And was it something that you said, oh, I'm starting over again, and I guess I will find myself somewhere, or it was an internal decision with internal factors that you took and say, now I'm starting over again.
Mm. Sure. That was a very hard place to find myself in. Uh, because there's external voices of those that you love, just also of society and what is expected of you as the person that you are. But also internally, you have your own war of whether to listen to your gut. Like you like there's this thing that you feel once you get to just before you start over. There's this uncomfortable place you get to that there's no other way to this but to start over. Like, sure, last week I went to a seminar and they were giving us this analogy of how the eagle uh makes sure that the eaglets start to fly. So because of their nest is built they use stones to build their nest, eagles. So but obviously on top they would put some grass and all of that. So every day when the mother eagle flies out to go look for food, he takes a bit out of the nest, the grass part, and obviously the thorns are left. Every day a bit, a bit, a bit. So I feel
Is
that
it?
yeah, yeah,
I
a
didn't know
bit up
that.
until yeah, Lena, I also didn't know that up until a point where these eaglets are so uncomfortable with the thorns that they are now forced to fly. So I feel like with my situation as well, it was something like that where internally I just felt very uncomfortable and more uncomfortable with where I was, to a point where there's no other choice. I can't bear the uncomfortability of where I am, that I need to make
Mm,
a decision now to either I'm going to fly or I'm going to die in this uncomfortable place that I find myself in. Because yeah, at that point as well, you get to a place where you're just like, yeah, if I don't make a decision, I it's going downhill for me. It really is. And so I was there. I was there where I was like, I really need to make a decision, and it won't be an easy one, external wise. But internally, I knew that I would be in agreement with my gut, and
mm, mm.
it would not that will not be easy, obviously, after you make that decision, but it will start the process of me at some point finding that, not place of comfort, I don't want to say that, but that place of peace about where you are, peace about what you're doing, and peace about,
Fulfillment.
yes, and yes, fulfillment as well about where you want to be in terms of whatever that you're doing. So yeah, so it was just a very uncomfortable place to be at, and yeah, very unbearable. Um, the thoughts as well, the feeling around it,
Mm.
even nightmares if you have to. But yeah, like it's really not a good place to be at. But if that is what it took for me to start over, then yeah, that sometimes that's what it takes, that to be so uncomfortable that you need to make a decision. So
Let's
sometimes it takes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's rush to discipline. Is one of the
Mm,
important values or principles that a person should have. We
yeah.
plan so much. It's easy for people to plan. It's easy for people to write a plan board or maybe to do that. But when it comes to
A vision
execution,
board.
yeah, vision board.
Mm,
When it comes to now execute until the last part of the assessment or the last part of the task, it's really difficult. I was talking to a friend of mine, I
mm,
think it was 2 days back, and I was like to him, I've started businesses with different
mm,
people. I've started
mm,
business. I've been part of the businesses that were started, and I've actually realized where the failure of many businesses lie upon. People, it's
Yeah.
easy to start to make the first few transactions,
Mm,
and to get those new customers who get in and say, wow, the auditorium is so nice, the shop is so nice. But there comes a point in time where there is no customer in a day,
mm,
and the bookkeeping is not as beautiful as it used
mm,
to, and the motivation as well is no longer firing like before when you had the idea of starting the business. And even the environment are getting used to what you have created. Many people right there, they despair.
mm,
And I then wanted to analyze why is it why they despair. And I found the reason to be the love is now is the level of love is now low. The level of passion is now limited, and what has to take over is discipline, and many people
mm,
don't have the discipline to take over. Take us through that, because when you discover that, okay, I'm a writer, in grade 3, when you discover that I'm a writer,
yeah.
from from that moment to this book, there
Mm,
was a point where you had to put love aside and focus on writing. And I think
mm,
that's the reason why I'm not writing books at the moment. I'm not writing books because it is easy to finish a piece. If I write a piece, it is easy to finish a piece. If I talk
mm,
about retrospection, it is easy for me to finish that. But a book, there are some like parts where you will say, yo, am I really doing this? So tell me about the application of discipline in any project that you get to be assigned on.
yeah, I think I will use the books as an example. The first book, it wasn't as difficult because I had already started writing so many things. So it was just a matter of putting things together. But with the second book in particular, I had the idea and I was like, okay, I need to write this book. And obviously, you start the book because you're so motivated. Like you said, you have the passion, you know why you want to write this book. And then at some point, Devile, you're just like, maybe you start looking at, okay, I need funding for this. So let me pause a bit and look for
Yeah,
funding
yeah, yeah.
and things like that. But there was a point where I did that, where I paused and a lady came to me and she was almost like in a similar situation as I was. And I remember we had like a 2 hour call and I had to explain my story of my journey with accounting, how I got there, and after that call, I just felt like this is why I need to finish writing this book. And for me, it helped me finish the whole thing. So most of the time for me, yes, I would have the discipline to start it, but what helps me get to the finish line most of the time is knowing who it is for and the difference that it's gonna make. That's most of the time that what always motivates me and keeps me disciplined to finish what I started. It's always, if I don't finish, someone will not get their breakthrough. If I don't finish this book, if I don't finish that, if I don't finish that, somebody's depending on me to finish what I started so that their breakthrough can come, so that they can start what they have always wanted to start. So, yeah, for me, that has always been my why and my secret around getting things done and getting things finished. It's always about seeing the impact that it will make, but also just getting reminders along the way because you do get discouraged. You just like, I don't wanna, like, I don't feel like it. I don't have the words. But for me, it's always been when a situation like that arises, I quickly get up and I keep going. So I don't know if to say that is a a recipe that I use for discipline to keep me disciplined, but it has worked for me all this time. It really has. I don't have any other secret that I have a planner or no. When I remember those cries of people that need to hear whatever that I need to say or read whatever that I need to write, that is enough for me to keep discipline and keep going. So yeah.
Okay. We are at
Mm.
the we are right at the end of our
Mhm.
interview right now.
Yeah.
So guys, if you have a question, you can ask Aobakwe. Even if you
Mhm.
ask later on, I think she'll have time to come and answer those questions
Yeah.
if you get to have questions. So right now I'm gonna make, I think, 3 or maybe maximum of 4 scenarios of people who are going through some things, and it will be you coaching them in these situations that they are in.
Okay.
Ne? Yeah. The first person is going through emotional tribulations, soul crisis. They don't
Okay.
know whether they are going backward, or
Mm.
they are going like they are continuing with the road. They don't know their position in the struggle of soul. They feel like they are depressed. They in a position where like they feel like they are not understood.
Mm.
They are not understood on how they feel. They are misunderstood on how they
Mm.
feel.
Mm.
What can you say to that girl outside there who's going through those emotions, who is
Sure.
emotionally
Uh,
challenged?
yeah, emotionally challenged. For me, I sometimes we hear things like emotions and but I feel like we don't understand what emotions are. We don't understand what the soul is. So we just sometimes use those terms, but we don't understand exactly why we have those things and how they function. So when in a situation like that, first of all, I will obviously have to explain to you that what does a soul mean, or what is a soul? Soul is where our will is, our emotions are, where our thought patterns are. That's where our soulish is. That's where our soul resides. And our heart conditions as well. That's where the soul is. And once you start unpacking that of, okay, you say you're depressed, but what emotions are attached to your depression? Is it sadness? Is it regret? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it um, you need to find like you need to be able to identify the emotions particularly that you feel that are connected to what you say is your depression. And then after you, let's say, discover that, okay, I feel sad, but why do you feel sad? Where does it come from? In a sense of, does it come from people who said something to you, or was it triggered by was it, let's say, triggered by somebody who or let's say something that you watched, or social media, because those things are triggers to an emotion of some sort or another. Or
Mm,
maybe it's something that you thought about that actually triggered that emotion. So you need to find the place where that emotion was triggered, and why, like, what exactly were you looking for when, let's say, you felt that emotion or whatever. And before that, before you felt the emotion, where were you? Because sometimes you might be in a good place, but immediately after you do that thing, it's always the same thing. So it's also about discovering what are the cycles around the things that what are the cycles around how you're feeling, the emotions that you have. And also there's another thing that I can share with, let's say, the viewer who has this particular struggle, is also just the realization that our emotions and our emotions are a part of us, but we don't need to necessarily make decisions based on them. We
100%.
we don't necessarily make decisions on them. So we also need to find ourselves above and beyond our emotions. That, okay, if it wasn't for this emotion, how else would I have made this decision? We need to discover that part as well. That how do you get to certain places outside of your emotions? Because we are more than our souls. We are spirit beings. Even
Mm.
before we were born, and we were spirit beings. So
I like that.
even that area, we need to tap into it. We need to look into it, because sometimes you might find that you're not actually depressed. There is something spiritual that you are not attending to, that you need to attend to. That is an issue, or that has been underlying for some time, that you need to deal with. And after you deal with that, you find that you're okay. So hence I'm saying you need to also look at the spirit being outside of the soul, because the body, the physical part, we are good. But these two areas are always two which are very always bump heads. But we also need to understand the position, that it's first spirit, then soul, then body. It's not soul first and then, because a lot of the times young people, we live our lives from the emotion and not from our spirit. But the spirit is the most important, and it is our highest being. So yeah, it's
Mm.
about challenging those emotions, and where they come from, why, and what meaning you have attached to these emotions. And then also just looking beyond that, about your spirit being. And finding ways around your spirit being, that, okay, maybe I'm not sad. There's just, there's just something spiritual that I need to find out. And yes, we'll work around that. We'll work around that. So emotions as well are not the be it all, end it all. There's also, like I said, the spirit. So once I can sit down with them, and we start asking questions around these two areas, that we get to the bottom of it. But yeah, it's not all about the emotions. The emotions, you are having them, and you have the right to feel however way that you are feeling. But we can definitely change the meaning around the feelings that you are feeling. But also, if we find spiritual meanings around it, we can also go there. That there's uh, meanings above the emotions that we can also find. So yeah, so it's those two that we always need to interchange and clarify, so that one person who's emotionally in turmoil can be able to move past.
All right. All right. Clear. Clear. And now the second situation is of a student
Mm,
who is struggling to complete their degree. It was easy to enter. It was very marvelous to pass matric with flying
mm,
colors, good marks, good grades. But now they
mm.
entered into universities, which recently they say it's easy to enter, but it's difficult to actually
Together.
exit. Yeah. Yeah. So this one is a student who is in a situation where
Mm,
he struggled to get out. She struggled to leave the university. They
mm,
they have a huge sense, or a larger sense, that they chose something that was not meant for them. But they
mm,
realize this because of the crisis that or maybe of the problems or challenges that they get when they are doing their final year or second last year.
mm, mm, mm,
For this student who is near to trauma, like who's about to be traumatized because of course, like
mm,
they don't have anyone that they can run to at this place, because this person was not raised by graduates, people who've been in the
mm,
university and understand how it feels to be in a university. This person feels like, I'm all by myself.
mm,
How do I get out in this situation? And the social pressure that I should graduate is just around me. It's my second nature. How do I really
Mm,
get out of this situation? You know, those
sure.
that student who have thoughts of dropping out, you know,
Mm,
but they have made it. They are on their final. They are near to their final
mm,
run. How do you talk to that one? How do you get to conversate?
mm, sure. When actually while you were talking, the one thing that came to mind is the very same way where you said um them getting out. For me, is that how did you get in? The why. Why did you get in? According to yourself, like what was the reason that you gave yourself when you entered? For example, for me, when I entered, it was one of those things that I said I wanted to be a CA. I wanted to earn a lot of money, and those are my reasons of why I wanted to do accounting. So, but they went, I thought I was passionate about it. I thought I was passionate about it.
Yeah.
That is also a topic for another day, but um, yeah, yeah.
Bring
So,
another
'cause
one. Bring another one. Bring
so
another
yeah,
one.
so yeah, that is a topic for another day. But um, you need to start deciphering first of all your reasons of your own reasons, not other people, your own reasons of why you chose the the module, the course that you said you're going to revisit the reasons and be honest with yourself about your reasons. You know, like I said, for me, my reasons were that basic. CAs and money, blah blah blah, and then uh, also now start having the conversation with yourself to say, were my reasons heavy, or is it substantial enough to carry me? I've always had the saying that your passion will carry you when it gets tough, when it comes to your whatever that you say you want to do. It will carry you forward when it really gets tough. So
True.
when there is no passion, you know, it becomes so difficult to finish. But I feel that in my case, I could say sometimes you don't finish because of passion. You finish because of discipline. You finish because, yeah, you can do it and it can be done. That's it. And you get it done. But it has nothing to do with passion at all. So, uh, in the again that question of saying someone who is in the middle of not finishing and or is about to finish but they're not passionate, you need to have that honest conversation with yourself and talk to someone like me, someone who's really gone to in or been in a situation that they can really understand, because it's difficult to say something like this to someone who is a graduate. Usually because they are graduates, they will speak to you from a place of them graduated, that no, you just need to finish. But in a sense of mine, where I know how it feels to fail, I know how it feels to take 7 years to finish a degree, I know how it feels to graduate, I know how it feels to did you yeah, I know how it feels as well to not have a qualification but doing all these other great things in the world. I know how it feels to want to drop out. I know how it feels in terms of family wise, those people close to you, the conversations that you're having, that can open up your mind when you speak to someone like me. Because I'll be honest with you, I will not sugarcoat it, I will not take a side, I will understand exactly where you are. So I would say talking to someone like me will help you explore your options, because I feel that it's still a decision. You, according to your principles as well that you hold dearly, but it's still a decision. Maybe you don't need to finish because you were not given the grace to finish. Maybe you need to finish. So it's a conversation that it's not a cut and paste, that because it worked with me, it will work with everyone else. But it's also that thing of exploring everything and making that decision that, okay, can I go all the way? Should I go all the way? And exploring the right reasons of why you should, why you shouldn't.
Still watching Asvaye Explorer. Today we're talking with a graduate, a writer, a relevant writer, Aobakwe Mosime. She's a very sophisticated person. Today we're talking about discipline and locus of control. So our conversation was more on her work. This is the book she managed to. This is the second book she managed to write. I don't know how do I do this. How do I do this? Yes, I think it's clear now. Getting closer. So this is the book that she managed to. This is one of the two books that she managed to finish. It's a very powerful book for people who are at university. She wrote the book under the blazer. She's one of the prominent sisters that we are having in South Africa, and I'm learning a lot around her. So I don't know like where did she go, but I think it's some technical issues. So this book is titled Getting Closer. It's a book. It's a book. It's a very it's a motivating book. It's life changing, full of optimism in it. So I only managed to purchase this one. Gonna try to get a second book, and her talent of writing or calling of writing, how she perceived church, you know. So we really talked up a lot around those things. Through the success of her first book, Under the Blazer, she has been able to reach more young people through platform features uh, such as One Gospel, Botswana TV, Pretoria News, and YFM and SAFM. I love SAFM. If you want her contacts, you can search Aobakwe Mosime, her Facebook page. That's her Facebook page. Or you can search her account, Aobakwe Mosime. She's a very friendly person because she's working with people. Is an inspiring book, is a building book, and it's one of the relevant books that I like I've read. You know, many developing book they teach us about moving from like imaginary moving from our current problems and handling the handling like the benefits of the manifested vision. But this one, it takes you through when those moments come when everyone around you do not understand your vision or maybe your dream. She takes us through those moments, like when you close the room and you become alone, and those thoughts. She's talking about those thoughts for students. Those times when you fail the test, when you fail modules like many times, and you feel like this is enough. I've had enough of school. She's taking you through those process. It took her 7 years to finish her degree, and I wanted to get to that point where she's talking about it. So it took her like something like 7 years to finish the degree. She knows the feeling of being tribulated, being challenged at the university. And again, she knows the thing of coming back home to speak about your disappointments that you faced out there. Sometimes, you know, we feel like becoming successful, you have to go out of your home, like out of the street, out of your ordinary life, go and challenge yourself in town, Johannesburg, Bloemfontein. That's how we feel sometimes. But when we get there, things don't go how we plan sometimes for some of us. So when we get into that part where like you moved out home thinking that you are going to the street, and when you get to the street you will get things right, and the world show you its roughness, the viciousness of it, and you have to come back at home now, show your parents that I'm disappointed, things didn't go accordingly. She knows that. She mentioned that in a book, and she also mentioned getting kicked out in the university, where like you no longer belong to university because how you have performed academically, like basically being academically excluded. So she knows those things too. And this book, The Getting Closer, is is more shaped by her experiences in the university. University, this is what I usually say to my friends. University is full of things that will force you to learn, even though we are not willing to learn from. Because university is full of everything. I mean, everything is there. You want people who drink a lot but passing at the same time. They are there. Prostitute who excel, they are there. And people who have emotional difficulties, they are there. But they are still living. So university is that short version of world. When you go outside your box and you go like to the street, like to chance to challenge yourself, you meet different people who have different capabilities that you never even thought like one can have this thing at the same time while they have the other thing. So university is the short version of world, is the minimized version of world. But when you get into university, you get, I mean, difficult experiences. So this book is one of the books that came out of the experiences of the university. So it was a very nice interview. I learned from this interview. And again, she spoke about emotional difficulties. She said, in order for you to be emotionally okay, you firstly have to know what are emotions. She said many people come to conversations of emotions, but deep down they don't understand what are emotions, and what develop emotions. She mentioned also soul, that in before you question emotions, and after you have understood probably emotions, you have to go back to a point whereby you say now, okay, what on which branch do emotions fall on? And she said emotions are part of the things that make soul. She mentioned that when we look at soul is made into three things: the mind which thinks, about it, the things that are happening in your everyday life. And again, she mentioned like emotions are the things that build your soul. And again, she mentioned that the will, heart, and spirit, those things contribute to soul. At the end of the day, that's why you end up having like difficulties. But have her ultimate answer on a person who has emotional difficulties. She said you have to consult with your spirit first. If you can get your spirit, everything will follow. She's a very amazing person. But it was one of the powerful interviews with my fellow sister Aobakwe. She's from Pretoria. She's from Gauteng, and I really admire her work. She has really come a long way. So that's it for today.
Don't forget to follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Asvaye on Facebook. Follow Asvaye and share the conversations. Question people about mentality.